What up, roomies? Everyone sees the clips, the lights, the microphones, the virtual moments, but nobody ever sees the strategy, the production grind, the branding, the networking, the positioning, and the years it takes from going from I got a podcast to I built the platform. Tonight's guest lives in that world. He's not just a creator, but he's also a producer. Somebody who understands what it actually means to show work. Tonight we're sitting down with Richard Wilmore, a producer and a media strategist who spent over 15 years navigating the evolution of entertainment and digital production from Valkyrie style talk shows to high-end digital media and podcast growth strategy. Welcome, Rich. How are you doing? Welcome to Neighbors, man.
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Can I steal that intro? That was a good one.
You want me to send it over to you?
Yes, I'm going to put that on my website.
I got you, bro.
That was amazing.
It was all good. First and foremost, thank you for being on, because this is a subject that, as a small podcast host, this is valuable information not only to me but to some of my audience. And you've been in this world for close to 2 decades, almost 2 decades, I'm presuming. We're about to hit that.
Even though I'm only 25, yes, I've been doing a long time.
Hey, man, you only look 18.
There you go. So figure that out, everyone. Yeah.
Right? But let's get into the nitty gritty. So what does it actually mean to build a platform versus just creating content?
Consistency.
Okay.
And it takes time. I think so many people, when I talk to new podcast hosts when they're starting with me, they think that they're going to go viral overnight. They're going to put their podcast out on Spotify and YouTube, and then they're like, how come I only got 5 views? And I was like, well, did you tell anybody about it? Did you did you use the clips on your social media? Did you do all of these things? They're like, no, I didn't have time. I'm like, well, it's a commitment is what I tell people, because there's so many different lanes and so many different ways and so many different things you can post on and talk to and do all of those things, that it's not a one and done thing anymore. When I first started, I was one of the first people to put a show like mine on YouTube. And I didn't know how to do that. I was self-taught. I knew that I wanted to talk to people. Yeah. I knew that I wanted to be a talk show host. I didn't know how to edit a video. I didn't know how to record. I didn't even have microphones, lights. I started not knowing anything and realized quickly that no one's going to care if they can't hear you, if you don't have a good message.
That's a fact. And you just saying that reminds me so much of how this podcast started with me and my boys just doing social commentary, not really knowing what we were doing, and me having to figuring out how to do the editing and all the marketing and stuff like that, which to this day I still have a struggle with, because I'm a one-man team. So what's the difference between somebody who actually is consistent and actually makes this a career versus somebody who always stays in the lane as my podcast or my platform is just a hobby?
I think it's I guess what your goal would be with it. I have some people who just want to use it as part of their marketing strategy, which I think is a really great way to use a podcast, and use podcasts as being a guest, as being a host. So I think it's in how you view it, because it can be so many things. It can just be a way to make content, right? A way for you to network with people that you want to meet. It can be a way to help your social media. It doesn't have to be I'm going to make a ton of money, because that is so difficult to do in this universe. And I think when people think I'm going to have a podcast and I'm going to make a ton of money and I'm going to get a lot of views, there are 500,000 active podcasts right now.
Yep.
And if you can name 5 people who are actual podcast hosts that that are making a living, it's all that's really hard to do out of 500,000 podcast hosts. And most of them are celebrities who had a built-in audience already. So it's networking, it's asking for help. I think that happens a lot in this community where you feel awkward being like, can you support, can you, join my Patreon? Can you buy me a coffee? Like, and getting, and put not putting up that front that you have it all together and that you are making money or that it is successful, because it's a lot of work and a lot of time, like you said, and it's a lot of money that can go into making a good podcast.
That is true. And especially like when you're like, first up and coming and you're first starting out, you have these expectations and these dreams and these kind of like almost unobtainable goals. Like, you feel me? Everybody wants to be Joe Rogan or
Exactly.
Sean Ryan or, one of these huge podcast hosts. But in reality, podcasts are great for, like you said, networking and putting your material out there. And if you do want to be a great podcast host, it takes a lot of dedication. So like, so when it comes to like, let's just focus on that, right? When you're becoming a great podcast host, what are like the characteristics or like the traits somebody needs to be a great host, but not only a great host, but actually attract and have that gravitation where they attract new viewers?
You have to be yourself. I think it's hard to try. I mean, there are people who have podcasts who have a character, and that's to me like a completely different subcategory of maybe what we're talking about. But like, you have to be yourself. You have to be honest. You have to be humble. You have to be really good at active listening and actually not just waiting for the next question for the guest to answer the question so you can go on to the next one. I get a lot of people who want questions ahead of time and who need to know, like want it so scripted, and that's not how I work, because you could say something or I could say something that then leads me down a completely different path. So I like that flexibility of having a genuine conversation with someone and seeing where it leads. And an interest in what you're talking about or who you're talking to is very helpful, so you don't get bored. People are going to see that. People are going to pick up on that if you're trying to fake it.
No, that's true. And, I feel that as a host, you do have to have a certain level of interest with the conversation that you're having with your guest, because, you want to be genuine. You want to be able to, connect and vibe with that person.
Yeah.
So like, and that's always something that I've kind of implemented here, especially with like the revamping of my own podcast. Like, I went from like social commentary with a group of friends to doing it by myself and talking to people.
Yeah.
So like, this subject I'm very much interested in because it affects me personally. But how important is it to like not only show how genuine you are and how interested you are in it, but like kind of show like the audience, who you really are, and like kind of get them attached to the host and not only the guest?
Yeah, I think it's sometimes a blurred line, because you want to come off as professional. You want to come off as sort of a I don't know. For me, I look at the talk shows, because that's really how I didn't want a podcast. I wanted a daytime talk show. So I looked at all of those that I loved, and those people you didn't have access to every day like you do now on TikTok and Instagram, and people are going live all the time and everybody has a podcast. So there was sort of that like mystery around the person as a celebrity, and now you have access to them every day. So you have to like balance the like, here I am on camera and I'm giving you something, I'm giving you a product, but also I have this real life that I live that you want to give them a glimpse into. And I still struggle with that myself, of like what I want to show people. I think sometimes when I'm doing this, it's different than me just picking up my camera and bringing you on a walk with me and talking. I still get weird about that. Like, it makes me feel like, like I'll be in my office, I'll be in the studio, and I'll see a video that I think is funny or an idea that I have, and I'm like, but I feel stupid rolling around on my floor making some video to put out there, because I'm like, how, like, this is so uncomfortable. Like, you have to be uncomfortable, or you have to get comfortable with kind of being uncomfortable, and it's hard to break through that. I think I'm still struggling with that, because I feel like I want to present that like I know what I'm doing, but sometimes I don't know what I'm doing.
I feel you on that, and I struggle with that too because besides doing the podcast thing, I'm also a house producer and a DJ. So, and one of my close friends, he was like, "Bro, you have to start selling yourself. Like, the only way anybody's gonna really like start vibing with your products is if you start selling yourself." And I'm like, "Bro, I feel like I have the most mundane, boringest life, and I don't know what to show. Like,
I know.
what do I show? Like, me working all the time? Like what is there?
But
Like, I'm not
like
out
sometimes
there."
that's what people right, and sometimes that's what people love. Like I can work all day on something that I think is great, some podcast, and put a clip out, and no one cares, and I put a picture of my dog laying in a corner, or in the studio under my desk, and people are like, "Oh my god, so cute," and it
Yeah,
gets a ton of. So it's you never know, and then it's also like, like what is that turning into? Like people do all of the viral videos and stuff and that gets a ton of likes, but is that turning into people watching your podcast? Is that turning into people supporting you? I don't know. Like it's hard to necessarily measure that stuff right now.
no, I get you on that because I feel that as not only as content creators, but as people who have a product that's trying to be out there and not just necessarily be in the lane of content creator, that
Mm-hmm.
when we put like our regular life stuff out there, people tend to connect with that. And
Mm-hmm.
and this also goes back to the saying that I heard a while ago that people don't only want the ending of the story, they want to they want to they want to see the building of the story, they want to
Yeah.
go through your journey with you. But it's so awkward to put all the like everyday boring stuff out there versus like the exciting moments. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
for me, for instance, right? I don't want to put out, content of me. Oh, well, here's me on Adobe Premiere just editing this podcast versus, I'm DJing a rave and everybody's going wild. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. Well, and when you're the only one that's creating it, it's hard to document it because that adds another layer and another thing that you have to do. So
Yeah.
it'd be one thing if you had someone following you around with a camera to do it all, but when you have to, then it's creating two jobs in one. You're filming that's a job you have to do to film the behind the scenes stuff of you filming a finished product. So it can be overwhelming.
Yeah. And I believe that that's like one of the pitfalls a lot of content creators do go through. And like, I don't know if you've worked with people on this nature, but I feel that a lot of people who are trying to like, um, I would say come up in the game right now
Mm-hmm.
have a hard time asking for help or have a hard time like building a trustworthy team that could
Yeah.
get that project up and running,
Yeah. When everyone's making content, whether you're a content creator, everyone's a content creator now. Every business has to make stuff. Everyone's trying to have a little piece of that pie. And it's exhausting. It can be exhausting, I think, to try to keep up and you're constantly told that you have to put stuff out and you have to be creating content. And it's really hard to do in a silo by yourself like that. I was watching something and someone was like, it's not social media anymore. Uh, it's it's um, it's like you're documenting everything. It's like it's not entertainment anymore, or it is entertainment. It's not social anymore. It's entertainment. So documenting everything you're doing, that's what people um, are drawn to now is like the behind the scenes stuff and not even necessarily the end product anymore.
True on that. But I also feel that when people are looking for like behind the scenes, especially when it comes to like production and stuff of that nature, they're looking at it, well, depending on the person, they're looking at it through a lens of more of an educational
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing where they
Mm-hmm.
want to like, oh, I really like how Rich does his transitions and does it and puts his cuts together. Let me see if some background, some behind the scenes footage shows us how to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I love watching TikTok videos of people behind the scenes I love watching Wheel of Fortune. I love watching so I love all of that behind the scenes stuff, how they do the lights, and I watch that stuff all the time. And then I think, oh, people might want to see like to translate that into what I do, like, oh yeah, if I like it, other people would probably like to see what I'm doing. Um, and trying to fit that into how you build. You can like you can be filming your stuff all day long, and you can, but how do you then go do the work when it's a team of one?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And I think that's like one of the biggest constraints of it all is just like carving out the time for everything. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
How you go from
Mm-hmm.
like, producing a whole show to like editing it down to saying, okay, I have this content now and I have this um, behind the scenes footage. How can I properly place it so it catches the interest of the masses? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I used to do a live daily show. So like my goal as a kid was to have a live daily talk show.
Yeah.
And so for a year and a half, I did it. We did almost 300 episodes, like 2 to 3 guests per show, and it was live. One, so I didn't have to edit it because I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
But then it became too big because I was using StreamYard. I had all these buttons, I had all these things. I had commercials, I had all this stuff. And I wasn't present. I was too worried about making sure that the transition was right, that the lower third was up there while the guest was talking. And I was realizing like, oh, I'm not paying attention. I'm nervous that I'm going to screw something up. So I stopped doing it live and started editing it so I could make it a good product. And what I started doing was like live streaming the kind of interview, so people, but from a like projected lens, not the close up, so people could kind of see the behind the scenes stuff. And I started live streaming that stuff so people could kind of see the making of it. There are a lot of layers that you could do.
Yeah. No, I get you on that, man. And it's crazy how when one has a passion like that, they'll tend to pick up a lot of hats and learn an extreme amount of knowledge and pick up other people's experiences up.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't get enough credit for it, even if they're super successful or not. You put the work in to learn the skills, and how even if a person doesn't become successful in, like, let's say their own podcast, is there a way for them to like take those skills and actually apply it for like a production company and stuff like that, or like be part of a good team?
Yeah, I think that's also like, I was just talking about this to someone else too, of like, what is success, right? Like, so many podcasts start and don't get past 10 episodes. So many podcasts start and have 3 views per episode. So like, what is your definition of success? And for me, I've been doing it a long time where like I had to restructure what that is in my head, because if I would hit a mark, it was never good enough. Then I was like, well, okay, great. I hit 100,000 views, but can I do it? Like, why isn't it 150? And then I wasn't happy until I had 150,000 views. And then I was like, well, how did I, like, how come that's not better? So then I started really looking back. Like, I've had people come on my show who found someone else on my show who got a job because of it, who started thinking like, how am I connecting people? Because it wasn't just me talking, it was me talking to people like you. So like, if you got a job from being on my show, that to me was success, like, or if you got any, like if people started following you and that to me was success. I figured the people who needed to find my show would find my show. So I can't put a number on it. I can't put a download. Like, you have to really adjust your brain, I think, in this world, because it's so odd.
Yeah. No, I get that. And I think it's because of the fact that yet again, because of social media, and in social media, we really just show the wins. We don't show like the grind and the pitfalls of it all. And then we have, our role models and people we look up to, and, the shows and the content creators we try to emulate. I think that when we put ourselves up against that, we have a tendency to put this almost astronomical number there, where it's like we won't be happy until we hit that. And then when we hit that, we're like, okay, where do we go from here?
Yeah.
And it's like what's the purpose of it now? Is it now, are you just being numbers driven? Are you doing this because this is your passion? Do you like talking to
Mm-hmm.
people? And that's
Mm-hmm.
when you kind of have to reevaluate the situation, you know?
Yeah. And then you get like, so I had sponsors on my show. Um, and then it was like, well, I got one sponsor, but how come I can't get two? Like, like
Yeah.
I was constantly, and I'm still constantly like fighting with myself and in competition with myself. And that's a really dangerous place to be, because you can always improve. You can always get more views. You can always like make the show better. You can get better microphones, better can't like you can do all of those things. And so um, you can never really be satisfied if you don't want to be.
No, I got you on that. And I guess it all depends on the person themselves and what's their
Mm-hmm.
driving force, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, for instance, for me, this is more of a, even though I would love for it to like pay my bills and all that, this is a passion project for me, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I made the investment. Originally it was gonna be a side gig for me and my friends, but I turned this into a passion project where I love talking to people and, getting their experience and their wisdom. And
Yeah.
some people are benefiting from it, some people just enjoy the content. And I just hope that whoever this reaches, is reaching the right people, and they get a little bit out of it. That's really
Yep.
what it is.
Right. Yeah. The people who need it are going to find it. That's what I always think.
Yeah.
And there are ways, like it's very difficult. It's possible to make a living doing this, but if that's not your goal, but you still like I said, like there are the little buy me a coffees where you can make a couple $1,000s during your seasons to do that, because people will support you if they like what you're doing.
Yeah. And that's the craziest thing about it, is like, if people really like your content, really enjoy you, they'll subscribe to your Patreon,
Mm-hmm.
send you
Mm-hmm.
send you a little donation on your super chat and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what's up. Even just them being, if you have like a live stream thing and them just being on the chat, that helps out, because that
Yeah.
boosts your algorithms and stuff and puts you out there even more.
Yeah. It also helps because so many times when, like we're not filming this live, so nobody's watching this right now as we as we film this. So sometimes it's nice to be like, oh, someone did see that. Okay, cool. Like, and that interaction, just the interaction of a like, of a share, of a comment, of all of those things, like can boost my morale when I'm doing it, because I'm like, oh, it did resonate with someone. Because
Yeah.
sometimes it feels like you're doing this in a hole.
Yeah. I got you on that. But when it comes to like marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like what are like some good tips that, like, let's say a one-man team could do, or like a small team, when it comes to like marketing like their show and their product?
Put it everywhere you can. Like, don't put your show on podcast platforms and then sit back and wait. If you have a YouTube channel, put it on there. If it's on your, like when I was doing my show, I was live streaming to LinkedIn, to TikTok, to Twitch, to Instagram, to like all of the platforms that I could live stream to or put it on. I was, because people are out there. So don't sit back and wait for people to come to you. I learned that when I used to have a fashion truck, like a food truck, and people would come in and I had racks of clothes and a dressing room. And I spent months renovating this truck to get ready. And then I went out, no one was there. And I was like, how, like, I've been working on this for so long. Where is everybody? But I was so busy working on it that I didn't get a chance to market it. And so I was like, oh, you have to, like, if you build it, they will come, but like you have to let them know that it's even available.
I got you on that. And like, does a person's marketing have to be like gimmicky or like trendy, or can they be on like some more humble, real shit, in their marketing?
Yeah, I mean, even just like take clips from your show, 30-second, 60-second clips, throw them up. And those, for me, when I put shorts on YouTube, I'll get more views, and that's usually when my subscribers will come, because they'll get little pieces of it and go, oh, that was good. Let me check more of that out.
Oh, and when it comes to stuff like that, right? When it comes to like the shorts, reels, how important is it to like kind of like frame or like edit that piece of material so it kind of like catches the person's attention? Because you see how they have those clips that they'll begin with the end and then you'll watch it over
Mm-hmm.
and it'll just be a loop.
Mm-hmm.
Like how important is it for you to like come up with content like that?
I mean, I think it's definitely picking the important parts of your podcast, the exciting ones, the ones that will um, intrigue people. What I was doing a game show for a while,
Yeah.
and the reason why I started a game show was because I was playing a game with my guests on my show, and when those clips would go out, people would interact with those more, and they loved those more. And I was like, well, maybe I should start a game show. I've always wanted to be a game show host. Why don't I just do that?
Yeah.
And so it's, like figuring out what your audience wants to hear and putting that content out.
I got you. And what, in your opinion, right? What makes like a show or a podcast like memorable and sticks out?
I think if it's a podcast where there's more than one person, I think it's the connection between the people that are on the screen. If it feels real, if it feels authentic, that's going to resonate with people. If people feel like they're sitting there with you and they're part of the conversation, if they're like, I listen to somewhere I'm actually talking back because I feel like I have something to say to them as well.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that I connect with.
I got you. And like, and this is something that always bothered me, right? And maybe you could shed some light on it. Do you think it's important for like a podcast or a show to like niche themselves down versus being like on a broad spectrum of topics?
Gosh. Yes and no.
Okay.
I think it also depends on what your passions are. Like I've done very specific podcasts, but I've also done kind of the variety show, and because I was interested in a lot of things, and I wanted to make it a like a Rolodex for people. I had a show called Make Your Day Richer, and it was just like a Rolodex of people that you may not use today, but in 3 months you're like, I remember that person from Richard's show and I want to look them up, or I want to get their book, or I'm feeling like I need, something. So I think it depends on your lane. Like if it's, I think it's your marketing, right? Like if you're
Yeah.
an insurance agent, you might want to stick in that lane if that's where you're going to go down. So I think it depends. I think if you're using it as marketing like that, sure, you probably should kind of stick to what your business is. But if you're someone like me whose business is podcasting, then I just love talking to people who are interesting and making podcasts.
I feel you on that. Now, right, when it comes, now we're gonna switch it up, right? Now, when it comes to like the platforms,
Mm-hmm.
same question, but when it comes to the platforms like YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, and all these, is it important for you to stay in your niche or, have a variety? Because I know with YouTube, it's kind of iffy sometimes, depending on the topic of the channels. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that goes also back to where are people ingesting your stuff. YouTube
Yeah.
is, I mean, AI has now surpassed everybody by finding answers to things, but YouTube is also a place where everyone's going to find answers. So if they can look up a question or look up a topic and you're the one that pops up in a video of you, that's a win, right? Like then super. If you're a business, if you're a chiropractor and you have all of your stuff on YouTube and you have short videos or podcasts on YouTube about that business or that area, your expertise, and people are looking that up and they're finding you and they're seeing you, they're going to feel like they know you because they know what you look like, they know what you sound like. So when they call you, they're going to feel like they already trust you and know you because they've seen you and they've heard you.
True on that. And also when it comes to like certain things, when it comes to like at least with business, and yet again we're going with the chiropractor example, that kind of is like your resume
Right.
as well. because you might be gaining new clients and new customers just based off of the work they seen on YouTube. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I've seen videos of chiropractors where people say, "Yeah, I've drove 8 hours over here because of a video that you made." You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy
Mm-hmm.
because that's how that's how connected people are now
Yeah.
versus 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah. I moved from Texas to South Carolina, to a city I'd never been in, to a state I had never been in. And when we chose this area, the first thing I did was go on YouTube and look up what realtors were making videos, or who was making videos of this area, so I could look at it. So I felt like when I got here, it wasn't a big surprise.
Oh, gotcha.
And those were also then the areas of like, I don't think I want to live in that area. That area doesn't look good. This area looks boring. And that's how I showed up and felt like I knew what I was getting myself into.
Yeah, because YouTube is no longer considered like a video platform; it's considered a
Right.
search engine, just like Google.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So definitely, like getting your facts from there, and kind of like basing your opinion and your decisions on what's actually out there versus what used to be. Like we used to just read like a couple of reviews or like one or two things. Now you can see videos from the perspective of the realtor to somebody who lives there to
Yep.
even like a politician who represents that area.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. It's a great way to kind of get it all in one space.
So when it comes down to it, like what's the most important thing when it comes all right, if you were starting a brand new podcast right now,
Uh-huh.
what would be like the most important steps that you would take to like launch that or like build it to like its first episode?
Promotion beforehand, before I even launch,
Okay.
I think is important, so people know that it's coming. I think it's the same with a book launch. It's the same with music. Like, you let people know it's coming before it arrives, so people can get excited and people know that it's even about to happen. And I would also, I just started a podcast with someone, and we are recording 10 episodes before we even start putting episodes out. So we don't feel frantic that every week we have to run in and record something for her. So it puts her at ease that she doesn't feel like she is constantly podcasting and that she can go work. So we're doing those as time allows for her. So it doesn't feel like an extra job for her.
Okay. Any other tips like besides like 10 episodes or anything like that?
If you can, get help. Get help. I always say, like, when I'm making enough money, I'm hiring someone to do social media for me, because I make a ton of content. I'm creating stuff all the time, but I suck at putting it out and scheduling it and figuring all of that out.
Bro, you're speaking my whole life right now.
Especially when I was doing my daily show, because I would do something, but then I started working on tomorrow's show. So I wasn't able to like celebrate that success of having a show that went out and making the clips from that, because I was on to the next thing. So if you can, any sort of help. When I first started my show, and I renovated a basement in my house, and I would bring bands in, I would have an audience, like I had a full-on little production thing, and I would ask friends if they wanted to come over. I had three cameras, and I would ask friends if they wanted to come over and be a camera operator. Like, and some of them would volunteer and do that. Like, any help you can get is beneficial. I mean, unless it's an awful person who doesn't know what they're doing at all, but like anything you can get, even if it's like, hey, can you, friends, share this post online? Like, I'm going to post this thing. Here it is. Send them a link. Can you repost this, or can you share this, or can you help interact with this?
Word. And how, matter of fact, let's break that down real quick, because I don't think enough like content creators or like show hosts are actually doing that. Like, have you noticed that like, and I also suffer from this too. I hate asking like my friends and my family to like repost my things or like share my links, because I feel like I'm bothering, or I feel like I'm being a pest towards them. And I'm pretty sure like a lot of people get that same sentiment from it
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So how often does that come across, like in your professional?
I mean, a lot, because it feels like you're spamming people, right? Like it feels
Yeah,
like, and you're constantly bombarding people. But I also like when this comes out, I'll take the link and I will send it to people I know. I'll send it to my friends. I'll send it to my family. And then like I let them choose. They
yeah,
can listen to it or they don't have to listen to it. And I don't like necessarily something like that. I don't necessarily follow up of like, did you watch? Did you listen? What did you
yeah.
like? Because it also might be, well, they're going to wait until they're driving in a car and then they're going to listen, or they're, like they're going to do it when they have time. But I always send stuff out because I want to support the show I'm on or the show I'm doing. Um, and I like that it's like a little glimpse into, like, my friends and my family can have a little glimpse into what I'm doing too. Because we're also in a world, like
Yeah.
we're in an industry where like our families probably think we're insane and don't really understand what we're doing. So
Oh
stuff
yeah.
like this always gives them like, oh, okay, that's what Richard's actually doing. That's what he's up to. Um, but for like other stuff, if I have something big coming up, I don't feel bad anymore asking friends and family, because I feel like those are the people who will support you then. I always feel like it's friends and family who don't really watch the daily stuff, the usual
Yeah.
stuff. Um, but if it's something big, I have no issue being like, excuse me, can you share this for me, please? Or at least just like it, or, like do something to support it that way.
I got you on that. I got you on that. And I think that's like a big hill for a lot of people to like overcome.
Yeah.
And the whole thing of asking for support. And I think that's like one of the big hurdles a lot of people have trouble overcoming, because even on my own experiences, that's one of my hurdles as well. You
Yeah.
know, like I've never been great at social media, so like you said before, I'm definitely waiting to hire somebody for it.
Mm-hmm.
But yet again, if I have a little cousin or somebody that I know that's great at social media, I should be asking for help and I should be
Yeah.
reaching out to them.
And that's going through a lot in like businesses right now, where getting Google reviews is huge, right? And very important.
Yeah.
But it's awkward to ask a client that just like, hey, I know you really liked your service. Can you do a Google review for me? But people, like, if they like you, if they support you, it's an easy way to support someone. And it's so important. And I think stressing that it's important to get their help, and it's not just like, hey, I don't care if you do this or not. Like,
Yeah.
it's
I got
important. It's very important. And people need to realize that, because we're in a profession that seems fun and seems easy, and that kind of that hobby thing, right? Where it's
yeah.
like, well, it's just, like it's just the pot. Like, are you still doing that? I get that a lot. Are you still doing that show?
Yeah.
Because they're not, people have lives. But if you're specific about it and you tell them exactly what you need, people will do it.
No, I've seen. Usually, I see that people are usually pretty receptive when you
Mhm.
ask for a hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think if
Um,
you're like if you're specific about what you need, can you take this and put it on your Facebook? Can you go to this link? Send them, like, don't make the people work to help you. Like, send them the link you need them to go to, tell them what you need them to do, and then they're more likely to do it, I think.
yeah, true. You're absolutely correct on that, because people are more receptive that way if you give them specific instructions.
Yeah.
Do you think it's more important to be consistent or to have a strategy when it comes to like growing your platform?
Mm. Um, a little bit of both.
A
I
little
would
bit
say
of
both. I
okay.
think also allowing yourself to, you can have a strategy and you can have a plan, but allowing yourself to make changes and be flexible in that, especially when you're first starting out in a podcast. I think a lot of people hesitate to start because they want that first, like, it needs to be perfect from the get-go, and I need to have everything
Yeah.
figured out, and I need to know exactly what I'm doing and what it's going to look like and what I'm going to say. And that usually ends up changing once you get more comfortable with it. Once you figure out that that it's the ins and outs of it, you might want to change something, and that's okay too. So you can have a strategy, but be flexible with the contents of that.
No, I got you on that. I got you on that because shows do evolve, they do change, and you want to have that freedom where you're not too like in a box where you can't like grow.
Right.
And that's the most important thing, I think.
Yeah.
I think people want to see the growth
of
the show and go from like from point A to point C.
100%.
Yeah, man. What I was gonna go with? What are some of the biggest mistakes creators make online?
Not promoting themselves. I think we create and we create and we create, and then we're afraid to show people what we created. And I think that's a thing a lot of artists struggle with. We like need to create this. We have that, like, we can't not create something, and we have this vision, but then we're afraid to tell people. So we do little things like put it out on YouTube and we put it out on Spotify. And so it's out there, but then we're afraid to talk about it.
Do you think it's because people are afraid that they won't live up to other people's expectations, or their product won't live up to their own expectations?
I mean, from what I've heard from people I work with and from myself, I think we're afraid of what other people are going to think, like what the oh my gosh, what's the word? What the perception is going to be, what the audience is going to say.
Sure.
We don't want to. We're proud of it, and that's why we're putting it out there, right? Like we're not going to put something that we're not proud of. But what if other people don't like it? Then that hurts me. And then what do I do? Like not make art, like that's a tough, because so many adults don't make art or do make music or play an instrument because of something that they were told when they were young that they weren't good at. You weren't good at playing the piano, or you sucked at drawing, so they don't do it anymore. And we want to make art. Those of us who are still making art.
I got you on that. And before we go, how important is it for you to be authentic to not only to yourself, but to your artwork? You know what I mean? Because even though you're just podcasting or doing a talk show or whatever, that's still a form of art, and that's coming from the soul. So like, how important is it to stay authentic to that message, but also give it room to grow?
A lot of people ask me, like, how do you do seasons in a podcast? Like, is it every year? Is it so many episodes? Is it so many months? And my rule when I'm doing a show is always when I feel tired and like I'm not having fun, I'm going to take a break. And that's the end of my season. So I have no like episode number or a time frame. Especially if I have no contract and no one's paying me to do it. If I'm not having fun, it's going to show, and then it becomes work, and I don't want to do that. So if I want to get paid if I'm working. So that's when I stop it. And then every time, like 2 or 3 months later, I'm like, okay, miss it. And then I know time to start a new season.
I feel you on that. And before we go, I always ask this question to all my guests. Do you have any final thoughts, words of wisdom, or advice for the roomies?
I think my advice would be just make something. Just start. If you have an idea, just start. It doesn't have to go anywhere, but you'd probably be surprised at what you can make if you just try it. Like, I always bring in podcast hosts and go, these are test shows. They're not going to go anywhere. We're not doing anything with them. We're just getting comfortable with being in front of the camera. And 9 times out of 10, those episodes go out because that takes the pressure off of them psychologically of like, this doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just playing around with the camera and lighting, because they already know they're good at it. Otherwise they wouldn't be here, or at least that they want to do it and that there's something in them that needs to come out. So if that's your like stopping point, just grab a phone and start talking to yourself and see what happens.
True on that. True on that. And Rich, thank you. And Roomies, remember, if you got something that's burning your soul and that you really want to do, go out and do it. At first, it may start small, but you never know how big it could get. And with that,
Mhm.
peace out.